On today's episode of Changing the Set, I've added more light because last time was nearly pitch black and I didn't realize till after. So here's more light. Alright, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Recaps from Chirpin DMV. My name's Ben. This is week 5 of Washington Capitals hockey. Pretty big one here. We had 5 games. I'm obviously not going to dive into all of them because it would be like an hour-long video that no one would watch. People barely watch these ones. I'm not going to make them 45 minutes longer than they usually are. There's a lot of storylines in these games too, obviously. You guys watch the games, I'm sure. It'd be weird if you didn't and we're watching these, unless I'm your one resource for Capitals hockey. In this one, we'll be covering the Detroit game, the Columbus game, the Pittsburgh game, the Anaheim game, and the LA game. So I don't have much to say beforehand, so we honestly may as well just dive into the games, because again, there's so many of them. So the big news story coming into the Detroit game was Zach Fucale, 26 years old, finally getting his first start in the NHL with Washington. This guy's bounced around like 9 minor league teams, I think a couple pro teams. Never sniffed the NHL ice until tonight. That's what Herb Brooks says. Not tonight, but it's until tonight, because he did start this game. This was obviously a question mark because Vanacek was a little banged up, so they called up Fucale for practice. That's fine, but I figured Samsonov would probably start because he's like the 1A, 1B guy. But no, Laviolette gave Fucale the start, and obviously, as we all know, that was a good decision, but just a weird one at the time, considering like it just kind of shows what I was saying in the last video, that Laviolette did not really trust Samsonov that much, and he wanted to see what Fucale could do. But in this one, basically the Wings, for the most part, were dominating Washington early on. Like, it was just all Detroit, which you don't like to see because I don't know if you remember, but a couple years ago, 2 to be exact, they were the bottom feeders in the NHL, like literally last place, one of the worst teams of all time, I think. Obviously, they've gotten better. They've gotten some good players. That Raymond kid's good. That Sider kid's good. D-Boss as the captain. Can't go wrong. Yeah, I didn't like that too much, but Washington fended them off. Fucale fended them off, and then Orlov scores on a bomb after Ovi and Kuzi are dominating in the ozone. Stop me if you've heard that one before. So the Caps go up 1-0. The next shift, like right off the face-off, Lars Eller, the Tiger, finally scores. I was complaining about this guy not scoring. He scores on a nice move, just a little, I don't even know how to describe it. He didn't even deke out the goalie, but it just slipped through. Capitals go up 2-0, and that would be it for this entire game. The Capitals win 2-0. Zach Fucale, though, he gets his first career shutout in his first career game, so shout out to him. That's obviously like a monumental accomplishment. The last one was Garrett Sparks in Toronto. Obviously, I'm sure Fucale hopes to have a different career trajectory than Sparks. It was awesome. His family was in the building. People were going nuts for him. The room went nuts for him. They were spraying him with water bottles and stuff. So congrats to Zach Fucale. Obviously, he got sent down to the AHL like the next day. So I'm sure he'll get another chance at some point. You can't just get a shutout and never see the NHL again. Anyways, good win here for Washington. Even though they were getting dominated, they fended them off. They're still missing a ton of guys. This was probably their best defensive game of the year too. They really just hemmed in Detroit after they were getting demolished early on. Like, Detroit was all over them, and then Washington kind of figured out, hey, we have a guy who's never played in the NHL in the net. Maybe we should try playing defense, and they did. And yeah, it was probably their best like all-around game after the first 10 minets. Also, Ovechkin was held without a shot, which never happened, so he probably just like, even though they won and Fucale got a shutout, he probably just went in and broke like every stick in the room, because that's not up to his standard. But anyways, moving on to the next game, we got the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we got Samsonov back in net, which is good, because even though I've seriously doubted the way this guy's played this season and last season, you got to get him back in the net and get his confidence up. If you just keep him out, he's not going to have any confidence whatsoever, and you're just wasting a good goalie. Columbus scores early. Sean Corrali, the Columbus kid, which is just such a crazy thing to think about. Like, imagine growing up like cheering for Columbus. Like, I know people do that, they have fans, but like growing up in the area and being like a diehard Blue Jackets fan, I don't know, that just blows my mind. But anyways, a little later on after that goal, Marty, he goes down with an injury, skating to the bench, so I'm kind of watching him like, oh shit, hope that guy's okay, he's pretty good. But then Ovi gets a pass from Kuznetsov and just rips it past the goalie. I think it was Korpisalo, might have been Merzlikins. I know that's both of their goalies, so that was just like an obvious thing to say, but I'm not sure which one it was. But anyways, on this goal, it's number 472 for Ovechkin. He passes Brett Hull for 4th all time. It was obviously inevitable, but it was still really cool to see him pass a guy like Brett Hull, who is just like notorious for scoring goals. I mean, he's obviously just going to keep climbing. Yager's next, number 3. I think he has 766 goals. Ovi's like 25 away. That one also just seems inevitable, and he's probably going to get it this year. And then it's just Howe and Gretzky from there, which is phenomenal to think about, because who would have thought we'd be watching the greatest goal scorer literally of all time play. Like, we knew he was good, but this is like next level. Then less than 30 seconds into the second period, Garnet Hathaway gets his first. The Garnyard dog, it's going to catch on. I tweeted that on the Chirpin account. Could be cringy, could be embarrassing, but I just think it's going to catch on. I have way too much swagger when I say it for it not to catch on. Anyways, he finally gets his first. There's that secondary scoring that we needed from the fourth line, no less, even though he was actually playing with Eller and AJF here. Nice passing play. He finds the back of the net for his first of the year. Then the Garnyard dog, Garnet. This guy has a crazy name. He scores his second of the period, the game, and the season. Later on in that second period, Ovi with a turnover, gets it up to Eller. Eller makes a nice pass, and Garnet scores on the breakaway. That guy's not going to get a B-way too often, so you love to see him bury on those. Again, just the Garnyard dog. I will talk about him later. But after that great sequence of Capitals hockey, there's an awful sequence of Capitals hockey immediately after, because the Blue Jackets scored 2 of their own in like 30 seconds. On both of them, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty upset with Samsonov. He could have saved both of them. And I was like furious watching the game because he's just so inconsistent. And it's like Kuznetsov the last couple of years. Like, you know that he can do way better. And we've seen him do way better, like, to prove it, but he's just so inconsistent, and some of these goals just shouldn't be going in on him. Also, John Carlson on that second Corrali goal, sheesh, he did not look that good. He went to take the body. Corrali saw right through it, went right around him and sniped. It's just tough, you know, you need your goalie to make big saves, and Samsonov's letting in those goals, and like immediately after when they get the breakaway, he's not stopping it, going 5 holes, so I was pretty upset. He still played like a pretty good game, just this sequence was bad, and I wrote down that I was mad at him, but I calmed down after because he didn't play terrible. There was a bad sequence there. Then during the game, I tweeted, because I was watching Connor Sherry. Hashtag just what a signing, if you'll remember. And I was thinking, like, man, this guy just works his bag off all the time and he's not really getting rewarded for it. Wouldn't you know it, like 2 minutes left in the game, maybe this guy, he just gets a nice pass from Orlov, just snipes it in to take the lead really late in the game. He's going crazy. Big celly from Connor Sherry. I obviously look like a genius on the play, which is just becoming a little overwhelming at some points, but I was happy for him. Someone's showering, so I just pray to God you don't hear that. This thing's been pretty good. I accidentally left the fan on last video. Didn't hear a thing, so I'm hoping this is the same deal. But anyways, yeah, this was not the Capitals' best game, but again, they're so banged up. It was the second half of a back-to-back. There's not much more you can ask for. Like, obviously, you could ask the world of them and expect them to play a perfect game, but a road game that's back-to-back with injured players, like, the fact that they squeaked out a win here was impressive enough. Then we got the Pittsburgh game. The Pittsburgh game. This one was, pardon my French, awesome. So news beforehand, Nick Dowd re-signed with the Capitals, 3 years, $3.9 million. And I was just happy because Dowd's just been kind of like a rock on the fourth line. Like, he's just like consistent. He plays fourth line hockey so well. He finally found a home in DC. So people are going to get mad that signed a 30-plus-year-old player, but like, you don't want young guys anchoring your fourth line. You want guys like Nick Dowd and Garnet Hathaway anchoring your fourth line. That's how you're going to win games and win in the playoffs. We also have Vanacek back in net for this one. And the Capitals get things started early. They're short-handed, but Marty Fehervari, the Marty Party, he comes down, snipes short side. Side note, it was Hockey Fights Cancer Night in Washington, and I didn't know this, but Marty apparently lost his mother to cancer, so for him to score like a short-handed snipe too, like no less, like not that that matters, but like for the goal to be sick on Hockey Fights Cancer Night, that's got to mean the world to him, so that was awesome to see. Not to mention he's been playing awesome. Like I said, he doesn't even seem like a rookie the way he plays. He's such like a prick to play against. He throws his body around, he's breaking up plays, he skates like the wind. This guy flies around out there, so I'm really liking Marty, so just good for him on this goal. Then Ovi, the guy who, I cannot stress this enough, he can't pass the puck. He never has been able to, and he never will be able to. He makes a slap pass over to Garnet Hathaway, completely freezes Tristan Jarry. Hathaway puts it in. He's got his third of the year, and the Capitals are up 2-0. Sorry, the Garnyard dog, that is what I meant to say, that's his name. It's gonna catch on. Then with like a minute and a half left in the first, the Penguins score on like this weird in-tight play. Letang throws it to Gensel, like moves it around really in tight, like nice goal, but I also tweeted that he looks like the annoying orange, so do with that what you will. But then in the second period, Lars Eller and Daniel Sprong, former Penguin, connect on this filthy goal. Eller just waits out a sliding D-man, sauces it over to Sprong, who just roofs it. Jarry can't get over in time. Sprong, we obviously know that his shot is like his big thing. It's like Ovi, like Sprong has a shot and he's pretty fast. Shot was no joke here, even though he was in tight, he got it off so fast, like so much whip in his stick. So sick goal. Capitals go up 3-1. Then like a minute later, still late in the second period, Connor Sherry steps out from behind the net, gets to the hash mark, marks and just snipes it. He scores again and again. I love seeing this guy get rewarded. Hashtag just what a signing. I know his numbers haven't been as good this year, but like he just plays so hard. In the next couple of games, he got moved up to the first line. I don't know if I love him playing with Ovi and Kuzi, but if there's one guy who should be rewarded, it is Connor Sherry, because he just skates like a maniac. He just works his bag off. Then they did not slow down in the third. They started the third period just completely dominant. It looked like they were on a power play. And then Ovi throws a hit on the corner on Dumoulin, and the puck just squirts right to him. He throws it out to Kuznetsov, who's out front. He snipes it. Obviously love to see Kuzi, my boy, if you didn't know, rolling, because when this guy's rolling, the whole team's rolling. Everyone knows that. And like him sniping like that, doing the bird on like every goal, like this guy must just be loving life right now. I love seeing him do the bird. Sidney Crosby did not love seeing him do the bird. He was like throwing cross checks at him. He got sent to the box, but before that he also like manhandled Marty Fehervary. I'd like to talk about that for just a brief second, because that was ridiculous, is why. Obviously, like, things happen in games, like stuff behind the play, like guys get caught up, like it happens. That's not what this was. This was Crosby like jumping over him and German suplexing him into the boards like Kurt Angle. You can't do that. I don't even necessarily think it should have been a suspension. Like if he got hurt, 100%. Even though I'm not big on the thing, like if there's an injury on the play, then it should be suspendable. I think the action itself should be suspendable, but I don't know. This one, like, it was like bad and unnecessary and interference and holding and roughing and whatever other penalty you want to call it. I would have been fine if they didn't suspend him, but they needed to give him a penalty there, like just 2 minutes for any one of the things that I just listed off. But they didn't. Obviously Cap's Twitter went off and just saying like, and I'm included in that, saying like if Wilson did this, he would have got life in prison. Maybe he would have got like put on a rocket sent to the sun, like, but Crosby just gets nothing. It's just people like, oh, Crosby's frustrated, he's taking out his anger, ha ha ha. Like, no, like you can't just do that. You can't just German suplex people because you're taking out your anger. Then when Wilson does it, it's a horrifying act of violence. Shout out New York Rangers. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Crosby gets mad at Kuznetsov, takes all the cross checks at him, and like 4 seconds after he's in the box, Kuznetsov finds Tom Wilson, who goes 5-hole on the breakaway, makes it 6-1. Couldn't write that any better if you tried. Tom Wilson scoring against the Penguins. Chef's kiss, obviously. Kuznetsov making the gross pass. Just how are you, Crosby? And the Capitals winning 6-1. And Vitek had to make a big save at the end too. Vitek looked really good in this one, even though Washington more or less dominated this entire game. Pittsburgh had like 4 guys coming back from COVID. Washington's missing like 4 regulars from their lineup still, and they just completely dominated them. Like, it wasn't close at all. So eat that, Pittsburgh. You guys are garbage. And your captain looked like a literal toddler when he was freaking out and getting all mad. If you're gonna get mad at someone for celebrating on like a 5th goal, like fight him or something. Like, do something. Don't just cross-check him a bunch and take a penalty and get scored on by Tom Wilson. Just word of advice. Then the Capitals go out west on the California road trip and start in Anaheim, and this was a late game in Anaheim to a T. It was, game started at 10 and it seemed like the Capitals were asleep for most of it. The Ducks weren't awake for most of it either. It was an extremely boring game. Also, this was TVR's 400th game. Can't stress enough, this team only has milestones every game. There's something about every game that is a milestone. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the entire team is 35. The Ducks score early on a weak goal by Vanacek. It was just a slap shot that shouldn't have gone in, slipped right under his pad. Also in this one, Garrett Pilon called up because Lars Eller was on COVID protocol. So just take another regular out of the lineup. No, don't just take another regular out of the lineup. Take another centerman. We have 1 regular centerman in the lineup. Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Eller, Dowd. Those are our 4 centermen. Take away Dowd, take away Eller, take away Backstrom. We have 1 regular center in the lineup. And Eller probably got it from Pittsburgh, like someone like coughed on him or something, because the entire team just always gets COVID. But anyways, Nick Jensen snipes another one, but it actually gets tipped by AGF for his first career goal. It's offside, so it doesn't count. Hate to see it. This guy's also been working pretty hard, Connor Sherry style, but more like Carl Hagelin style, because he hasn't scored yet. Then late in the first, Vanacek makes a huge save on Getzlaf, but then even later in the game, he makes a huge couple of saves. There's a 2-on-0 on him, just a horrible breakdown by the Capitals. Vitek makes the first save and the second save on the 2-on-0. You can't ask for much more than that. The guy looked lights out in this one. But then early in the third, Garrett Pilon, he scores his first career goal on a Marty Fehervary shot. Nice tip too. He's like skating by, has to reach back and tip it down. Not easy to do. He scores his first. The Capitals tie the game. Then not long after, another bit of a breakdown by the Capitals. Trevor Zegras takes advantage. He slides at 5-hole on Vanacek. Again, another goal. And I say this like about most most goals, which probably sounds bad, but this one, like, it's Trevor Zegras, unreal hands, but the way he scored, Vitek probably could have made the save if he just played it a little smarter between his legs. Again, I'm no goalie, but just what it looked like to me. Then with 2.5 minutes left, the Capitals tie it. Tom Wilson, another sick deflection. The Ducks were a clog in the middle this entire game. They actually played a really good defensive game. Only goals scored for the Capitals were deflections. Tom Wilson with a really nice one, tipping it down 5-hole. Again, not easy to do at all. Really skilled goal. He scores. He's been on a rapid pace too. He's killing it. I think he's on a 30-goal pace now ever since I called him out. So shout out me for shouting out him. This one goes to overtime. Again, Capitals don't get too many chances in this one. They have the puck a little bit, but can't create anything. Then Trevor Zegras, this cocky bastard, scores a snipe and on a nice move too. He goes around the D, snipes it, throws his stick in the crowd. Ducks win their 1,000th game as a franchise. Getzlaf gets his 1,000th point. Good night to be an Anaheim fan. The Capitals continue their skid in overtime. They haven't won once. I think they're 0-5. But again, here the Capitals squeak out a point in a game where they were losing. They had flown in, I think, the same day. They were jet lagged. They were missing even more players than usual. Anaheim played a great defensive game. They still found ways to score, so you can't ask for much else than squeaking out a point. Would be nice to get an overtime win, but I mean, they really had no business being in that game. Then finally, we have last night's game against LA, another back-to-back and another late one, like 10:30 my time. I was like, Jesus Christ. Heading into this one, like I said, Tom Wilson had 5 goals in his last 7 games, and it was announced that he's on the long list for Team Canada. Can you imagine if this guy made Team Canada? I tweeted it, there'd be World War III. It's an international tournament. It would cause a world war. Twitter would explode. Ryan Reeves fans would be unhappy. Oh no. But obviously it'd be so cool if he made Team Canada. There's a lot of skilled forwards, so I think it's unlikely that he does, but the fact that he's getting the call from John Cooper, it says a lot about where this guy's game has gone in the last few years. He's evolved into an elite forward that any team would love to have, including Team Canada's Olympic team. Like, you can't say the guy's bad at hockey, you just can't. Samsonov gets the start in this one. The lines are all frigged up. We have Connor Sherry on the first line, and then Wilson on the second, and just they're all scattered all over the place just to try and get things to work while everyone's out of the lineup. And again, like I said, this was sort of a nothing game except for Ilya Samsonov. This guy, after the Columbus game where he had like that bad stretch and I wasn't feeling confident, he looked unreal in this game. Could be the best game I've ever seen him play. He makes a couple huge pad saves on the Kings late in the second, and then even late in the third he has to make a huge cross crease pad save. Like, he was just making all the big saves, which was my problem in Columbus. He wasn't making the big saves. This game he was making all the big saves. And then Garnet Hathaway, the Garnyard dog, 3:30 left in the game. This guy just gets the dirtiest tip I've ever seen, but nice passes from Kuznetsov and Karlsson to make it happen. He's just in the dirty areas, which is where you go to score goals. He finds the back of the net. He's got his 4th goal in 4 games. You just can't stop the Garnyard dog. And then he seals the deal with an empty netter not long after. He has 5 goals in 4 games. Again, after I called him out. Him and Tom Wilson, shout out me. It's ridiculous. The Garnyard dog finds the back of the empty net for his 5th. Capitals win 2-0. Samsonov deservedly gets a shutout. He played unreal in this one. It's a lot of games. Whew. Okay, so I got through all the games. Says it's been about 28 minutes, so chopping this up is going to take just forever. But anyways, the Capitals continue their West Coast road trip. They got San Jose tomorrow, I think, and then Seattle like 2 days after that. Their first game in Seattle. Hopefully Oshie's back by then. Obviously he wants to get back and play in Seattle. He's got a lot of family there. He's got that game circled on the calendar. And Nick Dowd's been skating a lot too, so he should be back soon. Hopefully. We got to get some of these rookies out of the lineup. Obviously they're playing good, but you just can't ice this many like all the time. We got to get our regulars back in skating. Go cop a Koozie Revenge Tour shirt. I've worked really hard on the design. I'm really happy with it. Again, not to pump my own tires. I know I do that a lot as a joke, but actually, like, I'm really happy with the design. Went for like the old vintage sports band tees with like the tour dates on the back and everything, like the graphic tees. So hopefully they seem to be doing well. So hopefully you guys pick one up and enjoy the Koozie Revenge Tour as much as I do, because again, can't stress this enough. He's my boy.
Snapshot coming to the front door, deflected away, and the Boston Bruins advance to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Second round with a 4.
Yeah, dumb question, dumb answer.
But anyways, other than that, I think that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the brighter lights, because when I was editing the last one, I was like, Jesus Christ, Ben, you look like you are filming a horror movie. You can't keep that up. So again, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for next week's recaps. Hopefully there's less than 5 games, because that's absurd. Enjoy watching Capitals hockey. Stay tuned to the podcast. Stay tuned for our blogs and Capital Punishment. We got a ton of stuff coming up. Oh yeah, the Penguins are getting sold. So I guess like Kuznetsov and Wilson on them too. Just another team. Whatever. Peace.